welcome back to First Take. We are so glad that you are joining us this morning as we film our episode 15 of 16 of the podcast. I knew I was going to mess that up. We just talked about it. But anyway, we're so glad that you're with us. Today is going to be a great day. I'm joined by my best friend in the whole world, Seth Cooley.
Liar.
And I'm also joined by the wonderful, the talented Miss Shay Carter.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're so excited to be here. Today's going to be a good day. We're going to talk about something that a lot of us are dealing with. Maybe one of the hardest things to navigate during this time of the year. We're filming this kind of the first week last week of November, first week of December. So coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday, going into the Christmas holiday, but kind of right in the middle of the holiday season. All right, and so we know that this can be one of the best times of the year. You know, and often, like, when you ask someone what's your favorite time of the year, they're usually saying one of these times. But we also know it can be one of the most stressful times of the year. And so we want to kind of talk a little bit about those stresses and how we're supposed to deal with them and how we can deal with them, maybe some things that we've done to deal with them. And also in the comments, you can put, you know, if an idea comes to your head about something that you've done, make sure you put that in the comments and let us know what that is, because, you know, we're all learning here. I don't think anybody would say that they have this down absolutely perfect. And so we're just going to kind of run through some of the most common stresses that all of us have felt and see, you know, what are some things that we've done to kind of deal with those over the years. And so I want to help you do that. But first, let's kind of talk a little bit. How was your Thanksgiving? So that just happened.
It was good.
Yeah.
We didn't go anywhere. The weekend before was my grandfather's 80th birthday party, and so I went and saw like that side of my family the weekend before. And so I got to spend a lot of time at home. Did a little bit of hunting. It was pretty chill.
Any luck on the hunting? Ish.
Yeah.
Duck hunting mostly?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
I just went a couple times. It was all right.
Yeah. Shay, what'd y'all do?
It was great. Thanksgiving is like my favorite.
Yeah.
So I love it because I feel like it's got all of the family and food and celebration without some of the stress of Christmas.
Sure.
And so I love it. I always love cooking, preparing, and it was great. We just had family over at our
Did y'all
house.
host? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
we did.
Yeah.
Some aunts and uncles, and but mostly just our family and moms and dads.
Yeah. So this year was a little different for us. We had to stay home because Amber got sick.
Dang it, Amber.
Yeah. She ruined everything again. Not again. I'm just teasing.
Again?
No, but we did have to stay home. But I mean, honestly, it was kind of nice for a couple of reasons. You know, we got to really focus on just us four kind of being together, hanging out.
Nice.
We did miss our family for sure. And we'll make that up. We're going to get together and fry some backstrap and eat some white beans.
Nice.
And kind of have a late Thanksgiving here in the next, few days. But it was really good for us to be able to do that. One of the best things about being able to stay home and not having to go anywhere was I got this jar of jalapeno cranberry sauce from Shay.
Jalapeno cranberry sauce?
Okay, so I'd never ate cranberry sauce
I'm not a big
in my
cranberry sauce
life
guy.
until like 2 years ago, and now I can't have Thanksgiving without it.
You gotta have it.
And that stuff was unreal. So I got to eat. I ate the whole jar. Like, did not share with anyone because nobody else in my four.
Yeah.
Amber and the kids, they don't eat that either.
They don't eat cranberry sauce?
No.
Is it kind of like a pepper jelly?
A little bit.
It's just like regular cranberry sauce, like you get out of the can, like the jellied cranberry sauce. But I chop up about a half of a fresh jalapeno and put it in there.
Dude, it was. Chance is back there shaking his head. It was so good. It was unbelievable. And I literally, look, it was a jar like this big. I ate the whole jar.
Okay, so to be fair, I walked through the offices.
Yeah, there was no one here.
And there was no one there. I had a big flat of them. And I was ready to spread my Thanksgiving cheer. Yeah. And I was like, okay, everybody, I've got cranberry sauce. And there was nobody
I saw her
there.
in the parking lot. That's how I got mine. But yeah, it was so good, and I ate it on everything, and it's gone, and I want some more. That's how good it was. And
I'll make some more.
It's so weird though. Like, when else do you eat cranberry?
Just Thanksgiving.
It's just Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah,
like, you're not gonna mess that up and eat it, throughout the year. But
no.
Yeah, it was a good time, and we were able to eventually, get to the hunt lease and do some hunting. Rhett got his first deer.
Nice.
I want Abigail to put that picture in this video right now, because people need to see it.
Well, Abigail's not here.
No, but she's going to be editing this, and she'll be posting it. So I'll have her do that. But hopefully she can do that for us. But before we kind of get into the stresses, I want us to talk about let's kind of start on a positive note. What's your favorite thing about this season? You know, there's so much good. We don't want to just focus on the negative. What's your favorite thing about this holiday season and everything that's going on?
So we were at my grandparents', I think it was for Thanksgiving dinner. I can't remember which day it was. My mom asked me, what's your, I think she didn't ask that. I think she asked, what's your best or what's your favorite Thanksgiving memory or Christmas memory? I don't remember. Maybe it was just a holiday memory. And I jokingly, I knew what she was getting at, and I jokingly responded, just anytime I've gone hunting. And the dejection on her face.
It's mine too, though. It's the best day of hunting of the year.
So, anyways.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, on a positive note, on a serious note, mine would be not the actual hunting side of that, but the quality time side of that with my brother, my dad, grandpas, uncles, that sort of thing.
Still leaving your mom out?
No.
We love you, Stephanie.
She's there when we come back.
No, I hear you. So. I understand that. Yeah, for sure. And I always came back for Thanksgiving, but it was usually the best morning of hunting for the year for me. So it was really good. But yeah, Shay, what's your favorite part of the season?
The season. I like cooking and making cookies and, getting the kids involved. And
are you really festive?
I haven't. Recently I have been. I like Hallmark movies too.
I'm digging the earrings.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was trying to be a little festive.
Yeah.
So I like watching Hallmark movies.
Especially
with my family.
Yeah.
But they don't always go for it.
Right.
So I've already knocked out about 6 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Reagan, my daughter, is watching Hallmark movies with my dad and mom a lot.
Nice.
She walks over to their house and watches with them, and so.
That's
great.
It's a good time. It's good memories.
Yeah, for sure. And, for me, it kind of goes along with what you said. The good thing is Amber likes to hunt, so we do that together. But being if she wouldn't have gotten sick, we usually we are with family on Thanksgiving Day, but we take the time before Thanksgiving, the time after Thanksgiving, to be at the hunt lease together at the camp and just, hunting the whole week. Mm-hmm. And so it's usually a good time. It's the lease that we have in North Louisiana, it's the best time to be in the woods too. Mm-hmm. So, really,
weather's
really good.
Nice.
Yeah. Just so awesome. It was cold in the, but it wasn't too cold where like you couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
And so it was real nice. All right. So I think a good place, for us to start, as we talk about the stresses, is not really with one of the specific stresses, but I think a good place to start is how do you, handle this season on more of a personal side, because I think this is what's going to build on every one of the stresses. This will probably feed all the other stresses, and so that's why I wanted to start here. And so kind of thinking about like soul care and what you do for yourself in order to prepare for different stresses that are coming. Kind of what are you doing? If it's a scripture that you rely on, if it's something that you try to be reminded of as you're thinking through the season. Let's start with you, Shay. Like, what do you do to kind of prepare yourself for this season as you're getting going?
So for us, this is something that Bryan and I, we've been kind of getting better at. I mean, I don't feel like you're ever great at it. You kind of do just try to survive. But through the years, as we've added child after child and activity after activity, you kind of set rules and things like that. But I think the biggest one is just focusing on Jesus, is being intentional about your time.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, it's hard to do. Okay. But just being intentional, considering your activities and just stopping and taking some time to say, is this peripheral or if it's part of my calling? Is this what I need to be doing right now? Just as far as like taking care of your time and protecting your time and things like that. And then focusing on Jesus, because it's so countercultural. You get the flyers in the mail and all this stuff, and the kids are going, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And you just completely lose sight.
You can get overwhelmed by it.
You can get overwhelmed, and you can feel like you don't measure up, I can't, there's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions. And, so if you can just kind of keep bringing it back to Jesus and keep bringing it back to what Christmas is really about. And it sounds cliche. Like I said, it's easy to say and hard to do.
Yeah, sometimes cliche is the right answer, though. And,
Yeah.
Busyness can get in the way of that intentionality. And I think a lot of us, the unfortunate part is like we get so busy and so overwhelmed during the season that we stop doing some of the things that had us in a good headspace and a good spiritual space, all year. And then, January comes around and we, I got to get back on the wagon, sort of thing. And,
Yeah.
But the reality is during this stressful time is the time we need to be most intentional, because it's going to help us get through it and keep our head in the right place and that sort of thing. Seth, do you do anything in particular? Do you like kind of lean on any reminders?
So I love what Shay said about managing time and being, I think she said being intentional about time. I would say for me, this is the first holiday season that I will have gone through not being in some sort of school. And so like the peak, finals is always right around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like the week before Thanksgiving, you're getting ready for the week after Thanksgiving, which is finals. And that was the last, 6 years or whatever between my bachelor's degree and master's degree. But I like to focus on just rest. Like I know that's, I guess a staple for everybody to, we're off of work and off of school and that sort of thing. But like, I just think about what's going to give me the most energy when I come back from this little break that I get, whether that be spending time with family, whether that be like literally sleeping maybe more
sometimes,
sleeping more than I've been sleeping, whether that be going in the woods and doing something to just enjoy God's creation. And so like, I don't know, the one word that when you asked the question that came to my mind was just prioritizing rest.
I love it.
In a season that is, generally speaking, the busiest part of the year.
Very busy.
For me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but generally speaking, for the last 3 years, 4 years, like this, October through the first part of January is the busiest time of year for me. And so, just prioritizing rest more so than I guess I would.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would feel that way, that it is the busiest time of the year for them. And it's just, it feels like the calendar fills up, right? Like there's just always, every night there's this company party or, a family get together, or we have to go shopping, we have to do this. And there's a lot going on. And, one of the things that I've tried to remind myself of and kind of keep at the front of my mind, I think this plays into the rest of the stresses we'll talk about today, is that I can only do what I can do. Like I can't do more than what I can't go further, even if I would want to be in 5 places at once, I can only be in one place at a time. And so I just have to remind myself that no matter how much I may want to please everyone and everything, it's not going to happen. And so I just have to be honest about that, and I have to make decisions, prioritize some of the things that y'all were talking about. And so I think that that's really important. And that kind of brings us to our next stressor, because I think it's probably the biggest one that people deal with. And that's the family is often the biggest blessing, but sometimes can be also a stress, especially during times like this, because people want to get together, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's one of the reasons for the season where we all get together and we celebrate the year and that sort of thing. And it's a really good time. Sometimes those family dynamics can kind of be really difficult to navigate and kind of figure out, whether it be how much time you're going to spend at each family, and if you have split families, and how you're going to navigate that. And I can remember Amber and I, when we first got together, and I may talk about this a little bit more, but her family was in Mississippi, and so we had travel kind of mixed in. I know you guys have lived in different parts of the country, and so that kind of has come into play for y'all. And so how do y'all navigate the family dynamics of trying to please everyone but really not being able to?
So I think you have to go back to what is it that only you can do. So you're the only dad to your kids. You're the only partner to Amber. you've got to prioritize them.
That's
and then
good.
after that, everything else can kind of fall into place. But I think the problem is when we sacrifice those relationships that God's called us to. Those are our calling, right?
Yeah.
We sacrifice those relationships to try to please everyone else. And so we pull all of this other stuff into our circle of responsibility, the stuff that we're responsible for, that God's given us responsibility over. We pull all of those extra things into that circle of responsibility. And God's not called us to those things. God's not called us to be at every social event. We have to just keep focusing and keep weeding out the extra stuff. Now, with family, those are hard waters to navigate.
They really are.
Because
maybe they're not as mature about it as you are.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's hard. And then with marriage is just making sure that you're on the same page with those things, making sure that you're communicating. It's hard. It's easy to say, hard to do. But if it's one side of the family putting pressure, making sure that you and your spouse are together on that page. There's no easy answer, though, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's funny that we started with, you saying that you have to focus on what you've been called to, and then like with family, that's also the answer, is to focus on those things. Seth, how have you dealt with? Because you're just getting started with, you haven't been married long, and, how are y'all kind of navigating those different things that are going on?
So, I'll just throw this out there. I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have most of my family close. The furthest distance that I have to drive is 2 hours, and, it's not bad at all. And so the other thing that is different about my family is that, like, the family that we get together with on the holidays, like, I see them throughout the year, and so it's like, why, and maybe this may be countercultural, but like, why is it that because it's Thanksgiving Day, there's a greater level of priority to see, someone or do a particular thing that I'm not going to prioritize the other 364 days out of the year, and maybe that's, like I said, maybe that's a countercultural thought.
Well, it's just the most Seth Cooley answer I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I think
it's right.
The remedy and the answer is prioritize. If those things are important to you,
don't make it just one day.
Don't make it just one day, and you don't have to lose your marbles because it's Thanksgiving, and try and do all these things and try and please all these people because I'm going to see them in a couple months.
Yeah.
Or I just saw them, a few months ago, or we talk on the phone. And so it's not like I'm going to talk to this person one time and then I'm literally not going to speak to them for another 365 days. And so I don't know, like, I guess for me, it's like a priority thing. Like, like if this person is a priority for me, then I'm going to, and vice versa, like them to me as well. I'm going to make them a priority, not just throughout the holiday season. And so then when the holidays do come, and there's not like this fear or burden of having to please them or like be a good boy with family and do all the right things and check all the right boxes because I have a relationship with them and they're a priority the rest of the year. Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Go ahead.
Well, and for those that are not as mature, like you mentioned,
no shots at anybody in particular.
No, there can still be healthy boundaries. We can talk about boundaries, and if they have trouble with that, be Jesus, but set boundaries. And there are certain boundaries that you may have to set with people when they have certain expectations of you and your family that you just can't meet.
That's right.
You can't be everybody. You just can't. You can't please everyone. And in those situations, you just may have to lay down some boundaries.
Yeah, I think the fact is that this is not normally an isolated incident.
That's right.
It usually is just magnified during this time of year.
That's right.
But it's probably because of lack of boundaries in every other
Yeah.
situation
Right.
and relationship and sort of thing. I can tell you a time where I really screwed this up.
Okay.
Really screwed this up. Like I said, when Amber and I first got together, her family was in Mississippi. All of her grandparents were still, or most of her grandparents were still living. And so we still had 2 family get-togethers in Mississippi and then 2 family get-togethers, or at least one back in Louisiana. And so trying to do that on a day is crazy.
That's a
But
lot.
we would attempt it. And, all things to all people. Sort of thing. And I can remember on Christmas Eve one time, Christmas Eve is the big thing for my family, but her family was also getting together on Christmas Eve. And so we were supposed to be back here in New Iberia at 6:00 p.m. And it's a 3.5-hour drive. And I was like, okay, so we can stay at your family's till 2:30, obviously. Well, driving down I-10, the likelihood that you're going to make it in the perfect time is next to zero. Big wreck in Covington. We're 4 hours late. That everybody's waiting on us. Oh, no. And it was a big deal.
The problem with that is that everyone was waiting on you. Why was everyone waiting on you?
Because we were the only ones that had to travel.
Oh.
I'd have been like, bro, we eating.
Well, no,
We'll see you next year, John.
It's also opening gifts. Like, there was a lot to it. But yeah, and like it wasn't a good. But I think part of that and that this would be my advice to people is clear communication.
Yeah.
This goes along with boundaries a little bit, but actually saying the hard thing sometimes of, I don't know if I can pull that off. We might need to come up with a different plan, because sometimes we'll just stay quiet and hope and pray that it all works out, and it rarely does.
Right.
And so I think communication, actually saying, this is going to be pretty difficult for us, at this time, and that sort of thing. And it goes back, don't do more than what you can do. I mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
Prioritize those relationships. Kind of going along with relationships, I think this is a lonely time of the year for a lot of people, and I think we should at least touch on it a little bit. Some people don't have these big families to go to, or they've lost a spouse or a child, and so this can be a time of year where it's really hard to navigate those feelings. I think all of us have probably lost some people that are close to us. How have y'all navigated the feeling of someone not being there, maybe for the first time during this season, or anything like that?
That's hard. Bryan's dad passed away 11 years ago, and his birthday is 2 days before Christmas. Wow. And so, we always are thinking about him constantly during the holidays. But those first few holidays, they're tough, and in the Jewish culture, when they lose someone, they always say, may their memory be a blessing.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. Instead of, I'm so sorry for your loss, or, things like that. It's like, that's what we need to focus on, is we need to focus on the memories that we have of those people when they were here with us on earth. And then also that they're celebrating with Jesus, hopefully. But easy to say, hard to do, but focus on Jesus, lean hard into Jesus, especially. I've got a dear friend who lost her mother recently, and I've just been praying for her constantly through this season, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a few friends who have lost loved ones just in the past couple months. And I think about them often, how you deal with these types, because there's an empty chair.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest thing to kind of look at. But there, it even goes beyond there. There are some people that just don't have family in this area. They don't, lots of different things. And so I think we as a church can maybe step up, and if you know of someone like that, invite them over.
Yeah.
Actually open your table to them. I can remember, do y'all remember Noah Barber? Mm-hmm. So Noah Barber was here. He was an intern here,
Okay.
music, worship intern with Seth, actually. And he didn't have much family in the area, and, that sort of thing. And so Amber and I had him over for Thanksgiving, and it was a good time. Like, he just kind of hung out with the family. I can remember after he ate, he slept on my couch for a while. I was like, this is just like the uncle.
Nice.
Or the cousin,
Yeah.
like just, hanging out sort of thing. And so I think sometimes we can make an effort to identify who those people are and open our homes to them. And it's not going to ruin everything.
No.
It'll bring honestly, it kind of brings a different dynamic to it.
Yeah.
And may make it even more special.
Yeah, I mean, all of the conversation just makes me think about, like, keeping the main thing, like that the holidays don't have to change, who you are as a person, your priorities. Like most people would be willing to do that under normal circumstances, but are scared to. Under the holidays, like, oh, I'm not gonna, like, if they knew that was going on, if someone was lonely, like they would probably, if they knew that person, you'll be inclined to reach out to them and be inclined to show them love or whatever. But it's like the holidays are like that's an off limits time. And man, what I would say is just like, if that's something that you would do not on Thanksgiving, if you would love on that person in that way, the rest of the year, like, why not at Thanksgiving? Be the same person for the holidays that you would before.
And I can tell you, it probably would mean an incredible amount to the people that you're reaching out to, even if they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Just the idea of, wow, that person was willing to open their home and their family to me, because they care about me. Mm-hmm. I think that just the gesture in general would be a huge thing for people. All right, so I think the next one that we'll talk about is probably one of the biggest ones for people because, obviously part of all of these stressors is we're trying to please everyone. We're trying to do as much as we possibly can. Well, this is how finances come into play and the stress that finances can happen. You may not know this fully yet, but you will because your baby's coming. But, buying gifts for the kids, you talked about going through the sale papers and they're circling everything.
Yeah.
And
we hide those from the kids.
And toys ain't cheap.
If they show up, we're like,
But I mean, I don't think it's just kids. Like, your husband may want a boat or a side-by-side, that sort of thing, or a new fishing rod. And how much are those going for? A good one these days. I don't know anything about fishing.
Just a few dollars.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's what the men tell their wives. But no, people ask for things and they want things, and sometimes there can even be expectations of what it's going to be, and maybe you have set those expectations over the year, or over the years, and maybe this just ain't a year where that can happen, and so financial stress can be a huge thing. What kind of, I think boundaries is a good thing for this. What kind of boundaries have you guys put in place to not give into that, and kind of not come out in January saying, okay, now we got to pay all this off?
Yeah. So I have a scripture. Can I read it?
Yeah,
I just read it and I thought, oh my gosh, this is America during the holidays. It's from Haggai 1 and it's verses 5 and 6. And it says, now therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Consider your ways. Okay. This has been in my mind for a while. Consider your ways. You have sown much and harvested little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you never have your fill. You clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages does so to put them in a bag with holes.
Wow.
So the money flies away.
Hello, the last 6 weeks of the year for Americans.
That's right. Yeah. It just stuck out to me, especially during this time of year. But consider your ways. That just stuck out to me. The Lord was like, consider your ways. And it's communicating to your children and focusing on eternal and things like that I think we have to be intentional, or else the credit card bill comes in January and it's like, oh my gosh, because that's our culture. That's what culture tells us to do. And it's hard to be countercultural in those situations. So we do a few things to try to focus in on Jesus that we've kind of done throughout the year, through the years. And one is we do these little cards.
Love it.
I brought them, but I don't even remember where I got them, but you could probably find them on the internet. And it's for each day. It's kind of a Advent thing. It starts in December, and it has a reading from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and it leads up to Christmas and to the birth of Jesus. And that helps us just kind of keep bringing it back around to, hey, this is what Christmas is about. Right. Christmas isn't about Santa Claus. Christmas isn't about toys and stuff and commercialism. And we'll still have some of that, but just bringing it back and focusing on the eternal is the only thing that we found to do in those situations. I think
a lot of people think that you have to go one way or the other.
Right.
We have to be all countercultural where we're not, talking about Santa with our kids and some people do that, and I have no issue with that, but some people don't. Like, in our house, we talked about Santa. It was all good. Yeah. But some people think you go get rid of everything, and some people go way far the other way, and it's, it's like Christmas threw up on their home and,
Right.
and all that sort of stuff.
You can't even walk. You know?
And so I think those two extremes are the problem, right? And so
Yeah.
to try to be centered and find somewhere in the middle that fits your family and your dynamic. And I think, you guys have both mentioned it. Keeping the main thing. The main thing is an important thing for us to think about as we're doing that. I know for finances, when it comes to us, we, this is real technical, but we set a budget. Like we go through every person, and we depending on the year, and that budget changes. It's not the same every year. Sometimes we're in a little bit better position at the end of the year than we are other times, and so we'll go through and we'll think about, all right, for this person we'll spend this much, and we try really hard not to break that, and we really try not to go, because our kids are they for a long time until Crew came. Crew is my nephew. My kids were the only grandkids on both sides of the family. And so you talking about spoiled, like unbelievable. Christmas threw up on our house. And so we've really worked, and you're not going to stop grandparents from doing that stuff. Like they're going to do whatever they want to do. That's what I've learned. And in a good way. I've learned to live with it and deal with it. But we are intentional about having conversations with our kids about what that means and how that's not really what the season's about. Let's talk about more of what it's about. What do you guys plan on doing? I mean, you're about to enter that type of season.
So let me just say this. I'm closer to being a kid and receiving gifts more so than buying and giving gifts. First off. Second off, I'm a terrible gift giver.
Okay.
So that's not a natural thing for me. And third off, I'm extremely cheap.
You are.
So I don't have a problem, like not spending money. But what I would say, based on just my experience with my family, my experience receiving gifts, and giving them, like, it just doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Like the pressure to, to do, like for the really generous person, like to get that person like the best gift. If your relationship is going to be damaged based on that interaction there, then we got other issues, right? Yeah. And so, like the pressure that people and myself sometimes that we feel to either make sure that I get the right gift or give the right gift. It's just not there as much as you think, and the reason that I know that is because the second week in January I'm not thinking about what I gave or what I got, and so for me, I don't know. I think as a kid I always remember the high of getting, like receiving a gift, and I always remember the decline of like a month later, like, yeah, I got this for Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whether it was a, I don't know, what a toy or a piece of technology or, something to do with hunting or sports or whatever. It was always like, this is really cool. The day of, it was a little bit less cool the next week, and 2, 3, 4 weeks later, it was just a part of my life. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I guess that understanding of like, it's just not as big of a deal as you think it is. That's a good perspective for our parents to think about, as they're doing this. And like, I don't remember as a kid, I'm 24 years old, so I'm not that far removed of, being completely reliant on my parents and that sort of thing. And as a kid, I don't like if you were to ask me, like, what do you remember about just your Christmas childhood growing up? Like, I don't know if gifts even make like the top 5. Yeah. Then some of them might make the top 10, like as a kid, and like the surprises and that sort of thing. I got a dog one year for Christmas, and that was really cool because the dog grew up with me, and that sort of thing. It's a living thing. And so
that's what we should do. We should get pets for Christmas.
Only pets.
There you go.
Yes.
You have like a million of them, don't you?
I am always up for
Brian's
more.
going to be so excited about this. More dogs, more cats.
That's right.
More chickens, more.
I'm up for bunnies this year.
Yeah.
I can help with that.
Those, right?
I can help with that.
But I say all that to say, like, that's not the highlight of my Christmas experience as a child.
I think that's a good thing for us to remember.
Great.
Yeah.
We should also evaluate, I think, why we feel so much pressure to give the perfect gift.
Mm-hmm.
Are we building our self-worth into that? Are we saying, hey, if I don't, because obviously to the person,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time they're going to be excited about whatever they get,
Sure.
just like you said. But why do we have so much pressure? Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to give so much? Does it make us better parents? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make us a better person in any way.
I think it's hard for people that are naturally generous too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person that comes to mind is the person that is always giving me gifts is Allison Tony. Like she's always like here recently. It's been like baby clothes. Like she's always giving us baby clothes. But like I feel like for those people that are like that, they enjoy, like it's an energized thing for them to give a gift to someone. Like it's definitely harder for them to like just keep it in check.
One thing I think everybody should think about too is what's the most meaningful gift you've ever gotten? I would be willing to bet it's not the most expensive. It's probably the most thoughtful.
Yeah.
I can remember like, and maybe you guys can think about what your most meaningful gift you've gotten while I tell mine. Amber got me John Folse cookbook. It's basically the encyclopedia of Cajun cooking. It's this thick, this big. It's huge. It's awesome. Pictures. It's one of the coolest books I've ever gotten. And she got that for me because she knows I like to cook. Well, she could have just gotten the book, but what she did is she went to a book signing that he was doing in Lafayette, and she stood in line. She had him sign a personal note to me, and that's the most meaningful thing she's ever got me. She's gotten me more expensive things. She's bought me different things throughout the years, but that is still the thing that I would go back to every time because I know the effort that she thought about and put into to make something happen that she knew that I would really appreciate. And so I think we need to remind ourselves of that. The most meaningful is usually the most thoughtful, not necessarily the most expensive. And so don't put your finances in a blender, trying to make up for it. Like think about what that person would want or need and just do something simple or small. And the thought is, we say this is a cliche, but the thought is what counts.
Yeah, it's true though.
Do you guys have like a gift that kind of matches that, or is Amber the best gift giver of all time?
I don't know.
I was trying to think of it as you were saying. Bryan is a very thoughtful gift giver.
Yeah.
He thinks of things that I never would even have thought of. But specifically, I'm trying to think of something specifically, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I can't think of anything like in particular that like.
So Amber wins.
I guess Amber does.
Good job,
win.
Amber.
All she does is win.
I think of things though like that I share with other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
like experiences, maybe.
Yeah, like experiences. And so like when when in the past when my dad has gotten us like hunting stuff.
Yeah.
And so like we share, me, my brother, and my dad, we shared those experiences as, a child growing up and even now.
Yeah.
And so like when I get something that we get to share together, it's more special.
Love it.
I've gotten instruments before, and so like my mom was a person that encouraged that growing up, like being involved in music, and like fed that talent, fed that enthusiasm, like even made me sometimes. And so like when I play an instrument and look back on I share that experience with her and that love with her. And so I would say anything that I could share with another person.
I love it. As we're thinking about, being intentional and keeping the main, you guys mentioned and you had your cards, and we'll actually put a link. We'll try to find these cards, and we'll put a link in the show description for everybody to, if they wanted to find that. But being intentional about keeping the main thing, I think is an important thing. And even the main thing. So like, obviously, Jesus is the reason for the season. I wanted to say that at some point in this podcast.
Did you have it in your notes?
I didn't, but like it's on the dome, man. It's always there. But I said dome, by the way, for you young executive producers back there.
How old are you?
I turned 40 this year. Anyway, I've been really trying my hardest to say young things.
I do that too.
And I do it just to make people like you cringe. But
it
anyway.
drives my kids crazy.
Yeah, they hate it. No cap. Anyway, so.
Bet.
don't know what any of it means. No, let me remember
Sorry.
what I was saying.
The two young producers back there are having to be quiet.
Yeah, they are.
Cringing.
So keeping the main thing, and obviously that's Jesus, but it's also family, and it's family time, and it's being generous, even for those of us who aren't as generous and, you know, are kind of cheap and that sort of thing. But all of us that maybe are, like, reining some of that in. And so keeping those main things, I think is super important. How do we do that? By having maybe like an idea of some acts of kindness, some things that we can, especially with our families and with our kids, what are some things that we can do to sort of make that a priority where we're doing things for others and we're not making it all about ourselves the whole time? I know our church does Operation Christmas Child Boxes, and like we do other things like that. What have you done with your family?
So when we lived in Memphis, there was a large population of very poor people. We would always sponsor a family, or a small group would sponsor a family to help them have a Christmas. But there's still lots of opportunities like that, even in this area, I'm sure. And there was another program that we did was similar to Angel Tree, where the parents were in prison, things like that. Anything that you can do to help your children understand that there are people that are in need, and that need love and kindness, to kind of take the focus off of them, because children, and we do it too, very easily just bring it all right back around to us, you know? And so anything that we can do to kind of redirect the focus off of us is good. But things like that. We've done Operation Christmas Child. One year we did 50 boxes just for our family, and they were all lined up in my bedroom and everything. And it was so much fun. And the kids, you know, it helps them so much. Mission trips, things like that, where they can see people that are in need, because so many times we just stay in our little bubble, and, you know, we're only around people that are like us. We're not around other populations of people that are in need. We have the blessing box, you know, just going to Rouse's and grabbing some easy food to stock in some of the blessing boxes around town. Anything like that is, I've found in my kids' life is helpful. Thatcher went on a mission trip toward Christmas one time to New Orleans, and gave out socks to homeless people. And that was very impactful in his life, to realize, hey, there's people that need basic necessities. And I'm circling things in the sale ad, you know? So
I'm trying to get an iPhone.
Yeah, right. So things like that can be very formative.
It's good.
In our life and in kids' lives. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, sometimes we make the mistake, even with ourselves, of we're just talking. We're just saying the stuff, and sometimes that doesn't go far enough. Like, sometimes you have to put some feet to your words and actually do something. It's
good.
You know, and I think that oftentimes can go further, not just with our kids, and it's obvious with our kids, but also with us. Like, we're not just, you know, speaking into the abyss. We're actually doing something about it. We're not just thinking about others. We're physically helping others, and, you know, maybe even sacrificing for them. So maybe, like, you know, instead of, you know, buying that extra gift, we're taking that money and we're going to do something for someone else. You said sponsoring a family. Amber and I have done that a couple of times over the years, and that is more rewarding than any gift I've ever bought for anyone in my family.
When was it that we were talking about, I don't know if it was talking about it with you here recently, about the long-term effects of giving rather than receiving? Was that on the last podcast? When was it?
Bryan talked about that in his message one time, like just a couple weeks ago. That it's diminishing. When you get gifts, like what you said.
We talked about. We had a conversation about it. I don't remember who I had a conversation about it with.
Yeah.
But like the reward of, like, you know, like my wife and I went on a mission trip last year to Mexico, and like the feeling coming back, going into Christmas, the peace, the assurance of I just did a good thing. I did a God honoring thing, and, you know, like with that, like the I don't know, like it's good for your walk, like the I don't know, it's I don't know the right word, maybe a motivator, maybe it's like it always has propelled me forward when I've experienced something like that. So yeah, like the long-term effects of that are are just
I love that. We'll try
more
to,
better.
Yeah, we'll try
That's
to.
good.
That's good. We'll try to link that podcast from that message in the show notes. Just I don't think it was related to holiday giving necessarily, but that's okay because I think the principles that he talks about in that message are really good for us to think about, and it'll go along with what you're saying there. And so this has been a really good conversation. I think it's been helpful and also encouraging. But I'd like for us to end with some encouragement for people with like, hey, here's something that I've done. Here's something that I would like to do this year, or anything like that. What's one form of encouragement that you would give to people as they're setting out on this busy season of life?
So I would just like to say to be gentle on yourself.
That's good.
I say that a lot to a lot of people because there's so much pressure and it just intensifies throughout the holidays. It's like, don't be so hard on yourself. Focus on Jesus, focus on the responsibilities and the calling that he's given to you, and let everything else fall away. Because ultimately to survive, this is what we're talking about, you've got to be gentle on yourself, because those pressures that you're putting on yourself or that you feel other people that are putting on you may not be real.
Yeah.
Don't focus on those. Be gentle with yourself.
That's good. I love it.
My dad always had a phrase that he would say around the holidays, and it was that the crazies get crazier around Christmas.
That's so true.
And he would always say it as a joke, like, we see something on the news about somebody doing something stupid at a Black Friday shopping or whatever. And I think the core of that is centered around people, for some reason, not being themselves during this season. And so my one piece of advice, and I think it goes, right in hand with being gentle, but just remember who you are.
It's good.
You don't have to be somebody that you're not, or do things that you wouldn't normally do, because, it's a different season. I don't know, just remember who you are in Christ, because, like I said, that's what keeps the main thing. That's what allows us to be gentle. I don't know. That's the thing that comes to my mind.
I love it. Yeah, and kind of going along with those, mine would be to move slowly through this season. The culture is telling you to go fast, speed up, get everything done, do everything that you possibly can. But what I've learned over my life is that life is not about like the big thing that we're getting to. It's more about the moments on the way to the big things.
That's good.
And so I try to focus on the moments, and I've really tried to be intentional about slowing down in those moments and really enjoying them when I have them. Because if I have done this, I've made the mistake of speeding through everything, trying to get it all done. And then I look back on December 26th and I wonder, where did it all go?
Yeah.
It wasn't even worth it. What did I do? What was I doing? And so my advice would just be to slow everything down. And you may not get to everything.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay.
But those moments that you do have with people, with buying a meaningful, thoughtful gift, with anything that we're talking about, doing something for someone else, those moments are going to be more impactful. They're going to be more meaningful to you looking back on this season than if you just speed around hoping to get everything done, please every person or everything in your life. And I just have learned that that's an impossible thing to try to do, so don't even try.
Yep.
That's right. And so
This
has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate y'all. This has been awesome. Shay, is this your first podcast here with us?
It is, yeah.
So
it's exciting to have me here. It's been quite fun.
Yeah, it's been great to have you, and so it's been a good time. We love all of you. We want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas. Hopefully you have a great time with your families and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully some of this brings you some encouragement as you face these stressors of the holiday season and try to figure that out. And so we love you. We'll see you back next time on the First Take podcast. Bye.